Waters.
Aye.
Moore. O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Call the roll, please.
Waters.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Shaner. Here. Scott.
Here. Can we stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have, first up is Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Corinne Erickson, please come to the microphone. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Hi, I'm Corinne Erickson. I'm a regional planner at Simcoe. I'm a regional planner at Simcoe. Our director, Michelle Bastonellos, has served for the past few years, and so we tend to transition roles over time. And I've been involved with the Bike Ped Roundtable at Simcoe, so we thought that would be a good tie-in to, the other work I've been doing there.
I think it'd be a great tie-in. So thank you for making the application.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions?
Thank you for applying.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Judy Burnetz is not available today. She's sick. Parks and Rec, Brian O'Hara. Good to see you, Brian. Tell us why you want to continue to serve.
I'm Brian O'Hara, I live at 4608 Meadow Lane. Want to serve because there's a lot of activity going on in the Parks and Recs department, and I enjoy being on the board.
We appreciate it because we're a little short on this board all of a sudden, which
it
hasn't
seems like
happened
that.
for a long time. So thank you for that. Any questions for Brian?
Thank you for serving.
I was just curious, where do you think we could develop more parks or more recreational areas? Where do you think that we're deficient in the city? There's been a lot of talk about, more skate parks or the new bike development that is happening, which is exciting. Where do you feel like we don't have enough outdoor opportunities for citizens?
Well, I think the city, and always has been, had a lot of park activity available. And I get kind of focused on bike trails because my family walks a lot, and I used to ride bikes all the time. And the bike trails keep growing and expanding, so. And I think because of that, a lot of people will be coming to Sioux City.
Do you think that they're growing out enough? Do you think we have enough coverage? I'm always learning about new bike trails that are connecting, so it seems like we're really starting to create a network that can be used well. Do you think that we've missed any areas at all with the trails?
Off the top of my head, I don't think we have. I think in our goals for the Park and Rec Department next year, there's a lot of activity associated with the bike trails and stuff, like the Dune Bike Trail out by Clune Park and a lot of the other interconnections that are being made. There's a bridge going to be built across the Big Sioux sooner or later. So we're connecting with that. It's being connected over in Dakota Dunes and stuff like that, so.
Exciting. Well, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We'll go to the consent agenda, which is items 3 through 12B. Consider items passed unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on an item, please come up as I read that item and state your name and address for the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is the reading of the City Council minutes of December 5th, 2022. 4 is a resolution accepting the annual comprehensive financial report. 5 is a resolution approving the West 7th Street Corridor Facade Improvement Program funding. Sorry.
Hi, Mayor. I'm Julie Mahaney, Accounting and Reporting Manager, And for the annual financial report, there's going to be a brief presentation today between 10 and 15 minutes. And I'd like to introduce Andy Grice, who is our auditor from Bergen. He and his staff conducted the audit for June 30th of 2022.
Next time, be sure and tell the clerk to put on my notes, I need to slow down and not. Go ahead.
Hard to stop that train.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, members of City Council, for having me here tonight, here to present the audit report for the year ended June 30th, 2022. Wanted to begin by going over our independent auditor's report. This report is included in the city's financial statement, and this report highlights the responsibilities of management and our responsibility as your auditor. It is management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements, so they cut the checks, take in the receipts and revenues for the city, make payroll, and record all of that information onto the city's general ledger. And it's our job as your auditor to come in, test, examine, look at the underlying documentation to support the numbers and disclosures in your financial statements, and ultimately give an opinion as to whether these are fairly stated in all material respects. Happy to report that we are issuing a unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. That's the best opinion that we can give as your auditor, meaning this is a true and accurate presentation of the financial position of the city and changes in financial position of the city in all material respects. Also wanted to highlight a couple other reports included in the financial statements, and the next one is our report on government auditing standards. This report has us take a look at internal control over financial reporting and requires us to report any deficiencies in internal control that either rise to a significant deficiency or material weakness level. We had one finding to report this year that's at that material weakness level, and it's because we proposed some adjustments to the financial statements that were material, and one related to the prior period, and then also one for the current period. We also issued our report in accordance with the uniform guidance, and this is required whenever the city expends more than $750,000 or more in federal awards. And we had 5 major federal programs that we tested this year: the Federal Transit Program, American Rescue Plan, Small Community Air Service Development Program, Airport Improvement Program, and the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And so these major federal programs were required to issue an opinion on compliance, and we did give an unmodified opinion on compliance, or a clean opinion. We're also required to disclose any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control over the compliance requirements for those programs, and we had no findings to report on internal control over federal programs. So a clean report when it comes to the single audit in the federal programs at the city. Last, we have our Iowa Legal Compliance Report. There's certain required reporting that we have to provide related to statutes, and we had 2 findings this year, one related to expenditures exceeding budgeted amounts, and then the other just to report any deficit fund balances at the city. And then the other report that we provide is our communications letter. Our communications letter reports all of the required communication in accordance with audit standards, and also gives a financial analysis, which provides some trend data. And it starts by taking a look at general fund balance here over the last 5 years. And in 2022, the city's revenues and net transfers exceeded expenditures by about $2.2 million. And that increased fund balance in the general fund by about 20%, increasing total fund balance to about $17.9 million. Of that amount, $17.2 million is unassigned, and that's the metric that the city uses to measure financial health. There's a policy in place to maintain a minimum unassigned fund balance between 12% of expenditures and a maximum of 20%. And at the end of the fiscal year, the unassigned portion of fund balance represented about 26%, or about 3 months of expenditures.
So we actually are better off than what the finance department would lead us to believe around here. Well, if you only have to have 20% fund balance, you're running 26. I know my 4 years of college doesn't mean much, but I'm smart enough to know there's 6% money there. But go ahead with your story, because I'd love to hear your answer.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I thought that.
At least the 26% fund balance part of it.
Okay.
Next, I also wanted to provide some data here related to general fund revenue. and the makeup of general fund revenues. And the majority of revenues come from taxes, and that represented 72% of total general fund revenues here for 2022, which was an increase from 69% back in 2021. And we have some comparative information on revenues here coming up, but there was a change in a certain levy being recorded in the debt service fund that's now being recorded in the general fund here in 2022. So you're seeing a bit of a shift there. And also, there was a reclassification of Medicaid reimbursements. Those were included in a miscellaneous category last year, and now is included in charges for services. So seeing a shift in that category as well. Next, also provides a historical information here on general fund revenues. Total general fund revenues increased here in 2022, taxes making up the majority of that, increasing at about 3.7 million. And again, that's the reclassification of certain levy dollars from the debt service fund and now being recorded into the general fund. And also saw regulatory fees decrease about $1.6 million with the removal of a speed camera, and charges for services increased 3.7 million, and miscellaneous revenue decreased about 3.4 million, again with the reclassification of Medicaid revenue. Next, we'll take a look at general fund expenditures and how those are allocated by program or by function. And there was no change from 2021 to 2022. Public safety continues to make up the majority of general fund revenue, or excuse me, of general fund expenditures at 73%, followed by culture and recreation at 16%, general government at 6%, public works at 3%, and community and economic development at 2%. The next chart shows general fund revenues here over the last 5 years, and expenditures in 2022 increased $7.3 million. Public safety was the majority of that increase, increasing $5.5 million. And that, again, was that reclassification of levy dollars and the related expenditures. So you're seeing that related expenditure activity increase as well. And then there was also increases in several categories here, including public safety, public works, culture and recreation, related to an increase in wages and benefits and health insurance costs in 2022. Next, we'll take a look at the city's enterprise funds. Now, enterprise funds are meant to operate like a business, so we have some information here just to evaluate the operations and health of these funds by taking a look at total revenues, total expenses, and the related income or loss, and also providing information on income excluding depreciation. Depreciation is a significant component of operating expenses, but that's a non-cash expense. So wanted to provide that figure without depreciation to give you an idea on cash flow in these funds. And then also providing unrestricted net position. So this component is the equity position in this fund that's available for future operations and capital needs. And so we'll start out by taking a look at the water fund. The water fund this year did experience a little bit of an increase, increasing from $21,885,000 to $21,989,000. Total expenses increased from $17.5 million to $19.5 million. And as a result, we're seeing a decrease in the income in this fund. Last year, this fund generated an operating income or a income of $4.4 million, and that income is at $2.6 million here for 2022, and that figure without depreciation would be about $8.2 million. As a result of current year operations in the water fund, there was an increase in the unrestricted net position, increasing from $12.2 million to about $12.8 million at the end of the year. The sewer fund did also experience an increase in revenues, increasing from $29.5 million to about $30.5 million, or an increase of about $1 million. Expenses increased about $1.5 million with increased maintenance and engineering costs, and as a result, there was income for the year of about $6.3 million, $12.6 million excluding depreciation. Continuing to see improvement on the unrestricted net position in this fund, which increased from $9.3 million to $13.5 million here at the end of the year. Next is the Solid Waste Fund. The Solid Waste Fund experienced an increase in revenue this year, going from 6.5 to just over $6.6 million, and also had an increase in expenses of about $158,000 or 2.5%, or excuse me, about 3.5%, and that was an increase in collection costs as well as the collection fees. And as a result, we did see an operating or a loss this year of about $153,000, about $99,000 excluding depreciation, and a little bit of a decrease in the unrestricted net position, going from $2,962,000 to $2,912,000 at the end of the year. Last fund that we're presenting tonight on is the Airport Fund. The Airport Fund did see revenues increase this year from about $2.9 million to just over $3 million, and also has had increases in expenses of about $75,000 or about 1.5% with increasing fuel costs. And this fund continues to generate a loss each year, at least each of the past 5 years that are being presented here. So the operating expenses and capital needs of this fund do exceed the revenues that this fund is able to bring in. So there are other financing needs for this fund to continue operations and to assist with capital needs. As a result, we did see a decrease in the unrestricted net position in this fund, decreasing from about $1.7 million to about $319,000 at the end of the year. Last two charts that I have for you tonight take a look at tax rates and tax levy. And the tax rate decreased to the lowest point in the 5 years presented at 14.449 percentage points here for 2022. And that's a result of a decrease in the certified tax levy, decreasing, and as well as a slight increase in the property tax valuations. But again, a little bit of a decrease in the certified tax levy here for 2022. And that's a high-level look at our audit reports and our financial analysis. And next, we'd just like to open it up for any questions. And maybe before I do, just wanted to thank Randy, Julie, Teresa, the entire team for putting up with many questions from us, and very much appreciate it.
Questions?
It's probably about the best report we could have, isn't it, as a city?
It's a good report. Yep. We just had the one finding there just for a couple tweaks that we proposed there, but the clean single audit report, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Waters' expense account, did that all look good?
Or maybe we need to reopen this. I don't know.
There you go. I was going to say, if you find money, you let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think that the one thing that actual tax askings did go down in spite of what the state has done to us on replacement dollars and all those sort of things. So
Yeah.
it's good news. I know you should try to explain that fund balance somehow, Teresa, in light of the fact that most of our legislators think that we're a bunch of liberals and keep way too much money in the bank, and that's, I know why you have to keep the money in the bank, because you got bills that you're not going to collect property taxes on, so you've got to keep that fund balance, but they don't seem to understand that. So I hope we do put something out as an explanation for that, because you don't want to confuse them with the facts, but you might try, so.
And one thing I can point to there too is that we are seeing that consistently at other governments as well with the one-time COVID dollars that are coming through. Some of those are able to cover certain expenditures that maybe would have been covered through local resources prior. So we're seeing that, elevated for a short period of time, but obviously those are one-time dollars. And
right.
So we'll see that, being spent in future years.
Thank you.
Much.
Thank you.
Sixth resolution is adopting updated job descriptions for an electronic specialist and sports official. Item 7A to E are motions accepting the annual reports of the Art Center Board of Trustees, Environmental Advisory Board, Human Rights Commission, Public Museum, and the Transit System Advisory Board.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I make comments on each of these?
Absolutely.
Thank you. These reports are impressive. I'll start with the Art Center. The attendance, gallery, 35,103. Beautiful. Art Splash, estimated to be 11,000 people attended Art Splash. Public art, 25,000 plus. That's estimated for a total of 71,103 plus. The volunteer hours is what's really impressive. The Art Center, 339 counted, and Art Splash, 788 hours counted. So the Art Center, part of your success, isn't it, are the volunteers and the attraction for patrons to come and enjoy a true art center. You agree? Great report.
Todd Marins, Art Center Director. Yeah, absolutely. And this, as we mentioned in the summary for this report, this was, like for many institutions, our first year kind of back following COVID closures. So I'm sure that in the future, some of these numbers will be going up in terms of the volunteers, because, yeah, we can't do what we do as affordably as we can do it without our volunteers. And, yeah, it's been a really good past year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Todd, can I ask, do you feel that we're going to be able to continue Art Splash in that location?
That's the plan, yes. This, of course, is the number from 2021. The 2022 numbers were better. So we don't see any reason right now to mess with a good thing.
Good. I know in your annual meeting, it was mentioned that that's kind of turning into a little, the art kind of corridor, and I really like that. The
Exactly.
district, right?
Yeah. We want to make sure that the Art Center is connected to all the different arts organizations that are important to the downtown and throughout Sioux City.
Well, it's working. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, too. One thing that wasn't extensively reported on, but the artworks that you've worked really hard on, and there's one coming up this Thursday, and that connects all of the different, the entire arts district, all of the studios together, and you can wear your ugliest sweater to it.
And it looks like you're going to need to.
Yeah.
Yes. And your ugly
Better
boots.
than last Thursday, though.
Correct, we hope.
On
Thank you,
that.
thank you.
On the Environmental Advisory Board, Tom and Roger, I just wanted to point out on your 10 goals for 2023, I think they're excellent. I really like the first goal, continue promoting the recycling campaign and encourage residents to participate in the curbside program. And I think, aren't those recycling bins, how much do those cost a month?
I think they're nothing yet, but
think
it
they're
could
free.
change.
I think they're free.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
Sorry.
Even if you want more than one?
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good report, thank you. I'm just
Yeah.
things that jumped off the page at me.
Yeah, good, absolutely.
What
Roger
if we
Benson,
want
Environmental-
2 of those new recycling bins when you make the change?
Okay, all right, yeah, I think that's a possibility. But right now, the recycling is part of the solid waste package, so there is currently no additional cost for the
No
recycling.
additional costs for the recycling bins. Excellent, thank you. And then human rights, on that report, I just wanted to remark that cases opened in FY 2022 were 24, and cases closed in FY 2022 were 33. So it would appear from that, and somebody, if you're here, correct me if I'm wrong, it would appear that we're keeping up with the case filings, getting the hearings, getting everything resolved one way or the other. That's yours? Okay. Am I reading that correctly? Yeah. That you're able to keep up with the case filings? And that's extremely important to do, and I appreciate that, and thank you for that. Is there anything you wanted to say further? Okay. Yep, thank you for that. On transit, Sioux City Transit, Mayor, what jumped out on this one? Oh, this still is incredible to me. Total fixed route passenger rides for the period ending June 30, 2022 totaled 587,085 compared to 520,346 in the prior year, which was about an increase of 12%. Those numbers just really are fantastic. The annual paratransit passenger total was 83,371, which increased 90% for the prior year. So a big jump in that as well. So thank you, Mike, for the good work that's going on there. Did I leave anybody out? I want to make sure.
Skip the museum.
Oh, Public Museum, thanks. That was not intentional, Mr. Steve. Public Museum is a lot like the Art Center when it comes to,
Volunteer hours.
yeah, when it comes to the volunteer hours. And I think that's the last thing I want to point out, Mayor. FY22 volunteer statistics for the Art Center, or for the Public Museum. Total volunteer time, 4,942. Incredible. Total active volunteers, 121. Student volunteers, you had 4, which I think is really good. Interns, 8. And volunteers in groups were 42. So whatever you're doing to attract and appeal to those volunteers, keep doing it, Steve. You're doing a great job. This is a good report, so thank you for that. That's all I have, Mayor.
I wanted to point out for the museum, I got to add on some numbers here too.
Okay, oh, please do.
Looking at my notebook, I feel like you and I had a lot of the same notes. For the museum, the 54,250 visits really stuck out to me. But the digital engagements I thought was really interesting too, because that number is more than twice the amount of visits that we have. And I know personally, as I'm a teacher, that schools being welcomed back into the museum has been hugely successful, and we've seen big numbers trending up from that. But the programming, the weekend programming, the weeknight programming that's being offered just continues to grow. I feel like I'm there every other week. And I realize when I'm teaching, I'm right across the street, but for other reasons than that, I feel like I'm stopping down to the museum quite often. It's always a very welcoming environment, very well-kept facilities, and you've got history all around you. So you take great care to make sure that everything is in place, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay,
So that's-
ready to go?
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Actions relating to civil penalties and suspensions. A is a resolution scheduling a hearing on the proposed $300 penalty against Dollar General Store for violation of the cigarette laws. B is a resolution scheduling a hearing on the proposed $300 penalty against Work and Church for violation of the cigarette laws. 9 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving the amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with HGM Associates for the South Mulberry Street Improvement Project. B is a resolution approving a contract with INA Construction for the Outer Drive and Floyd Boulevard Pedestrian Crossing Improvement Project. C is a resolution appointing Dr. Randall Wood, MD, as Emergency Medical Service Medical Director and approving a medical director agreement.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to comment to EMS Director Hayden. Good choice on the medical director. Dr. Wood is an excellent choice, and I'm so pleased to see that he is signing up with this appointment that you've made, and I want to thank you for that.
Jim Hayden, EMS Director. Dr. Wood, we recently went through our accreditation site visit, and both Mary Chaworka, the compliance officer, and myself are just amazed at the number of hours he puts in. He's been far more interactive with us than anybody I've had the pleasure of working with in the past. And we've worked with some good ones over the years, but Dr. Wood is top notch. So
That's been my experience as well.
Yep.
Thank you for that, yes. Thanks, Mayor.
D is a resolution approving a name change amendment and first extension of the merchant processing agreement with Automated Merchant Systems for the electronic bill paying services. E is a resolution approving a 3-year agreement with Archive Social for capturing and archiving records of online and social media communications. F is a resolution approving a 3-year agreement with OnSolve for Code Red on-demand notification software as a service. 10 are actions authorizing payments. A is a resolution approving payment to Mark Albanesius for the Riverside Park Outfall Project. B is a resolution approving final payment of a tort claim and authorizing payment. C is a resolution approving partial settlement of a tort claim and authorizing payment. 11 is purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Groves Emergency Lighting Installation for police vehicle equipment. B is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Caltech for police vehicle equipment. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Ray O'Hearn for Vertex Series red and blue lights. D is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase cyber insurance from Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. 10 are boards and commissions and committee minutes. See the list Do you have any questions? Anyone else be heard on any of those items? Passes 5-0. 12 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the Dodge Avenue reconstruction project. I'll move that.
Second?
Public hearing's now open. Do we have plenty of days to get this work done so that we don't have to reject bids and start over? Because if we get a bunch of these and all of a sudden it's all because we don't have enough days, then
Well, this is being bid through the DOT, so the Office of Contracts sets the days on this.
well, they haven't been setting them very good either, pal. That's what I'm asking. You have some negotiation with that, don't you?
Yeah, we could, but obviously I don't think I don't know off the top of my head how many days they have set for this, but
Well, that concerns me. When we bid these, we won't know, what?
95 working days.
Yeah, I don't care how many there are. I don't know how many days it takes. We don't talk to contractors. But my point is, you're going to bid this, and if they don't get it, then you're going to start the process again. And and when you bid with the state, you only get their lettings. You don't get to just do it like we do it. I just hope you got enough. Anybody to be heard? Hearing is closed. Yeah, they could put 300 days. I wouldn't know how long it takes. That's the problem. Passes 5-0. 13 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the Rebecca Street reconstruction project. I'll move that.
Second?
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 14 is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Looks.
15. You said 14 is all.
Well, I'm just telling you what I got. What did I?
14.
This would be 15. The service provider.
Well, there's 13, I just did,
I think so.
and there's 14.
Yeah, this says 14, but it should be item 15.
Okay,
Tambourine's off.
I'm off on all of them then, but 15 is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Looks Great Services for ash tree removal project deferred from December 5th, 2022. Kelly, how did these guys find us?
Bureau of Lewis Purchasing Manager. We did post this on the website. I know talking to Kelly, there has been some other vendors that have come and done work for Mid-American, so we decided to put on the website to see what kind of interest we could get.
But if they just had to get registered with the state of Iowa, according to the city attorney, then they weren't working for Mid-America. So how did they?
Well, we put on the website, knowing that there's other vendors that do work for Mid-American, to try to reach out to what other tree vendors.
I don't have a problem with that you reached out, but it's just, they're so cheap and they're coming a long ways away. We don't need another fire hydrant deal where we get halfway in and.
Right. And I know.
Are you, either of you familiar at all with this company or their work?
And I would say there was a local vendor that was actually lower than them, but they did not meet the bond requirements. They did not give us a bid bond, so that was the bid that was excluded.
Okay, all right.
I'll let Kelly.
Kelly, did you have anything on this company or anything to add?
I'll move it, yeah, I'm sorry.
Second. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Kelly Bach, Park Superintendent. Like Spiro said, we did send it out. There is a company out of Illinois that line clearing for Mid-America, and we said, like Spiro said, we put it on the website. With other projects, we've also had groups west of Kansas City area, and this particular company has satellite offices, and one is in Kansas City. So they're based out of Mississippi. They're also in New York. They've done work in Puerto Rico. disaster services, Sandy. It's listed on their website where they've worked in major storms.
That's amazing, because I've done a lot of that storm work, and I've never heard of these guys. I've heard of Wright and Asplin, I've seen all those guys, but I've never, they must go by something else on their trucks.
Every truck that I've seen has that logo with the sun on it and looks great, so.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully it's a good fit, or hopefully they do good work. Is this, remind me how long the timeline is? Is this just for one season, or what is this?
This is the beginning of a progressive program. We selected a certain caliber of trees.
Yeah.
Half of the trees that, there was approximately a little over 400 in this area, about 200 fit in this caliper range, so we can put a significant impact to the neighborhood, and then start looking at what we do for future and for replanting next year.
We get any references from any other cities that they've done work for?
We did not. And I believe they did come up and meet with.
That might be a good idea.
I can tell you, though, that they're bonded by Zurich. They're pretty salty.
But they're good?
Yeah, they don't bond just anybody.
The one thing I just wanted to add, and Kelly, I didn't plan on talking about this, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but just wanted to say Kelly and I exchanged a number of different emails talking about the repurposing of this lumber and really being able to be proactive and looking into, we're going to take down a lot of trees with this. And so I want to make sure that we're on top of thinking creatively. Like, we even threw around the idea, I know in some other parts, Kelly and I spoke about this, and I agree that I don't think there's a high need in our community, but they were talking about even firewood banks, where people that heat their homes with firewood. There are different programs where they get wood and lumber donated so that then that's made available to citizens to heat their home. I don't think there's great need here, and Kelly would agree, I think, to that. But we're also looking at what other opportunities there are, such as, chipping that for use of, I was thinking the future trails, Matt, some of those trails, or even some of the beds of the playgrounds and things that we would need it for. Kelly had a couple other examples of what we used it in the past, that people are able to come out and chip it or get it from us, as long as they sign a form, not to be hold us liable for injury. And then also, wasn't there like a Boy Scout project or something if they needed Project Wood or someone like that? But
Sure. We work with individuals when they call. A lot of people do firewood on their own, and we have dropped off. All we say is, it's not a pickup load, it's a big truck load. So don't expect a pickup load. We need a place to get into with our truck. And if we're in the neighborhood, it makes sense. We'll drop firewood, and, like we talked about, those requests are a little less than they have been in the past. But we've also looked at what can we do to repurpose. And when I initially put out the bid, we included that we would take logs of a certain size, and we're clean, and we would get those ground and then get them tested and certified for playground mulch as engineered wood fiber. Because that's what we need to do, is have our playground material tested. We are reusing a lot of our own chips for natural mulch. Take a look at the promenade.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
The expo on the backside, we did all that too. Did the landscaping in-house and used a lot of loads of material there. So we're trying to get reuses. I did reach out to Looks Great. They did not have a definitive answer as to which way they were going to go, whether it would be chipped possibly for using heating in the ethanol process.
Yeah.
Or, if there was a need. We've had needs before. Unfortunately, the bird flu took quite a bit of wood chips to abate some of those problems. So they did not have a definitive, but they were going to get back to me once they get a little closer.
Okay. The other thing that Kelly mentioned, and again, Kelly, just correct me or clarify what you were talking about, was the need for potential future space. And I'm not putting you on the record or anything, but you were just saying that maybe having space to be able to store some of this product might be beneficial in the future. Is that kind of what you were getting at or thinking might be beneficial?
As us, as the Parks Department, we have a space out at the convenience center on 28th. So we have about 10 acres that we can store material out there. We have had an individual, when there's needs, come in and grind and just take the product. But it all depends on, unfortunately, natural gas market. Sometimes natural gas is cheaper than grinding and repurposing the wood chips. So it's kind of a volatile market that way for him. You know,
Yeah. Well, and I thought you had mentioned something about possibly down the road a storage facility or something like that where we could store more of it like indoors, but.
that was just a dream someday if
Yeah,
Parks
yeah.
gets,
No, and I understand
gets our own facility looking at geothermal biomass heating.
Yeah. And I agree. I'm not saying that you said we needed to do that or anything. I want this council, at least I think it's important to hear about some of those ideas and thoughts about what we could do, especially when we're going to be clearing out a number of trees for quite some time. I want to make sure that we're proactive and we're putting a lot of money behind it. We might as well repurpose as much as we can.
And I do check, there's a website, Minnesota Biomass Exchange, but there's nobody close that will take wood chips. You know, if you're going to have to truck 300 to 400 miles, it loses its efficiency and value. So I do check that.
Who does the chipping? Is this great, looks great, do the chipping, or do we do it ourselves?
In the past, there's an individual group just north of here that comes in and grinds. There was a group out of Sioux Falls that would come around and grind and then just take the product for, most of the time it went to an ethanol plant in South Dakota.
But if we want to have wood chips to use,
If I want, like when we're talking about the playground, I
Yes.
would hire somebody with a large grinder to grind the logs, and then we'd have, I've gotten prices on bringing in an independent lab to certify, you know, that there's no metals in it, no contaminants, that kind of thing, and then we can use it for our park system.
okay, so we don't, the city does not have the equipment to do that
We
ourselves.
do not have a
They sold it years ago. We bought it when we had a major ice storm and I canceled Halloween in 1990. We bought a wood chipper at that time. It was a big tub, hay grinding, but the future city staff members decided it was an unnecessary evil, which was the dumbest thing we ever did because those things don't wear out. But,
It was a hay grinder?
huh?
It was a hay grinder?
That's why you grind them, big tub hay grinder.
Had a
He
hay
owned-
grinder, and then we went to, it was either a Vermeer or Bandit horizontal grinder. Sold many,
Kind of what I'm getting at
many
is,
years ago.
you know, maybe we should own that process at some point.
Fairly expensive to buy a good one. You're looking at about 4 to 4.5.
Well, it was $250,000 for that one back in the day, then that was,
And we don't have to have a
1990.
new one.
That's used.
Well, like I said, Kelly,
Okay.
I didn't have an answer and I don't know the best way to use it. I just see, this council is not surprised by the fact that I hate waste. And so I just want to think proactively of what can we do to repurpose this product when we are going to go through so much. So if,
set up a wood-burning boiler down at the sewer plant. You need steam to run that place. You'd
But
burn
you're
a lot
saying
of natural
200
gas.
trees?
You could be burning wood if you did it right.
This first run going to be around 200 trees, did you say?
Correct.
Big?
16 to 24 dBH. So diameter, about 5 feet up, will be 16 to 24 inches. So
you're talking big trees.
Average, yeah.
Or mature, yeah. Well, I don't know, Mayor. I don't know if that's a possibility or an opportunity, but I just, like I said, I don't always have the answer, but I think we should be just communicating about how best we're going to be able to utilize that stuff. So if you know of an opportunity or think we could.
It'll be up to Mr. Pingle and Mr. Padmore to see if it's possible.
I just have a couple of comments, Mayor. While I appreciate the work that you've done on this, I'm not comfortable with it, just to be transparent with you. I can't support it. I want more flexibility. I think we have that with the local contractors, and I'd prefer to go local if we could. The references haven't been followed up on. I'm just not comfortable with what's being offered here. So I'll be voting no on this item, just so you'll know. But I do appreciate the work you do. I don't want you to take it anything differently other than I appreciate what you put together to present to us, but I'm just not going to support it today.
Listen, I'm a bond guy. If they got a bond and it's with a very credible company, then I'm going to vote for it. And I've got, I think I have one of the bonds and one of the next bidders, but they aren't low, so what do you do? So you can't, there's no better bonding company than Zurich. Fidelity Deposit and Zurich is the best bonding company, and I've written for them, haven't written one for a long time, but you don't get there unless you've got a really salty financial statement. So that's the only thing that worries me is if you didn't have, if you had some offshore bonding company, you're going to have to fight for it. But Zurich, if they don't perform, will pay the claim. So.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And Kelly, if you hear of something, please be proactive, or if you think of something, I hope you'll reach out, whether it's for Padmore or send it up to Matt and have Matt send it to Padmore. Because, yeah, if the mayor's right and if Tom thinks of a use or something like that, I'd like us to benefit from it in addition to any community members that could use it.
Sure. And anytime, Alex, any of you have an idea, shoot me an email.
Yep.
We're not shy.
I was going to say, I'm not afraid to reach out, man. I always throwing ideas your way.
Yeah, we'll look at anything, but those were the areas I've looked into.
Mm-hmm.
There's some validity, some things we can do, and some things not right now.
Yep.
You have my vote? Oh.
Great. Thank you.
Come up on the screen. Oh, there it is.
Passes 4-1. Mr. Moore votes no. Citizen concerns. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none. Mr. O'Kane.
Special shout out to Sergeant Aesop in the back of the room. He is the man that tased me. So it's good to see you here. Always support the blue.
Hey, round 2. Come on, we want to see this. You got it. Are you ready? Here we go. Here we go, buddy.
Here in front of everybody.
Once
All right.
is enough.
Once is enough.
Yeah, kick on the camera. This is live at 5.
Oh. Got some chills from that. I'm a little worried now.
You're good.
Just a reminder, Thursday is the Ugly Sweater Art Walk, starting at the Art Center at 5:30. Wear your ugliest sweater. We're going to talk about some local art, look at some art at the Art Center, and then go around to the galleries. So all the galleries will be open as well. And that's everything.
I would just like to bring awareness to all of our local charities at this time of the year. Just always remember that there's someone a little worse off or a little more needy than ourselves. So if you can give or donate, whether it be cash, whether it be several cans of food, coats, mittens, could be anything. It could be your time if you don't have something to give. Time is the most valuable. Please think about it this time of the year. And I know I try to think about it all year round, but I think about it even more this time of the year. So if there's anything that you can do with time or donations, please look within yourself and give.
Thank you. Mr. Waters.
The only thing that I had was, probably a week or so ago, I wanted to give a shout out to Matt. I had worked with him on the Leadership Siouxland team. They were looking for a space to hold one of their events, one of their get-togethers, their meetings. And Matt and I, we were able to work out a deal with them, looking at that small kind of space at the Expo Center. And so it was nice to be able to host those people. To piggyback off of that, Mr. Padmore, I was just wondering, I think in future years, I would really like us to be proactive in trying to recruit or just suggest or recommend individuals or even ask individuals if they would be interested in participating in that. I don't know how many city employees have went through in the past, but I think that Leadership Siouxland is a good program. I'm a graduate of it. And I just think it's great to network in the community, meet other people, and I want to make sure that we're giving that opportunity to members of our city staff as well. So that's all I would say. So thank you, Matt, and yeah, if we can do that next year, I think that'd be great. That's all I have.
Mr. Moore.
Mayor, a couple of things I'd like to thank with the apartment building fire that we had last week, the Sioux City Fire Rescue, and all of the social agencies that came together to help relocate the residents that lost their homes. And a particular shout out to First United Methodist Church for helping with the housing of the residents. And I'll tell you, it took a lot of work, a lot of agencies involved, and the city was involved as well. But those social agencies, which I don't have a list, and if I did, I'd probably leave someone off, and I don't like to do that. But the Sioux City Fire Rescue people really did their job, so thank you for that. Secondly, the Yellow Dog Auction was a success on Saturday. That's going to make a lot of a brighter holiday for the children of Siouxland. Very successful auction and campaign, so thank you for Mr. Goodfellow, Little Yellow Dog, and all that they do to bring joy to the children in Siouxland. That's all I have, Mayor.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Hi. Hey, Matt.
You-
It would just be 30 seconds if you want. Yeah, good
Were you
point.
kidding?
You're going to have it replaced?
Brown?
You having it replaced? Tomorrow. I got to go in.